Row for Show Productions presents Humble Beginnings, the Undrafted Podcast. Welcome to Humble Beginnings, the Undrafted Podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle Hamilton Jr., and this is episode 49 of the Undrafted Podcast. 49 episodes, man. I can't believe we're at that earmark already. Well, I hope you had a very happy Easter holiday, and let's not forget the real reason for the Easter holiday. Our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ laid his life down on the cross so that we may have a chance at everlasting life. So I hope you had a very, very happy Easter holiday. I hope you had some really good Easter holiday food in celebration of the holiday. Well, anyway, I'm going to get right into it. Today, coming up on the podcast, the Denver Broncos, their 2019 regular season schedule was released along with the other 31 NFL teams across the league. So I'm going to give my thoughts on the Broncos 2019 season and what I think the Broncos will be able to do with this upcoming schedule. And I'm in and I'm out. Man, I'm loving the way the Houston Rockets are playing basketball right now. They didn't do too good last night in Utah. They took the L, but overall, I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Houston Rockets. And I thoroughly believe they are the biggest threat to Golden State in this NBA playoffs. And what's the wave with Chef Rodaddy? I'm going to talk to you about what to do when you're on this weight loss or this fat loss journey and you're progressing, and then all of a sudden, it seems like your progress just stops and you're getting nowhere despite you doing all the right things. So I'm going to talk to you about that. And this is some bull jive. Well, they said there's a report that came out that said NBA ratings are down 26%. There's a big reason why, and I thoroughly believe this reason, but there's also another reason why I believe the NBA ratings are down. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it with The Low with Ro. The 2019 NFL regular season was released for all 32 teams last week, and for the first time since 2010, the Denver Broncos will open the season up on the road. Now, one of the first things that I noticed with this schedule is the lack of primetime games for the Broncos. Now, they're only going to have 2 primetime games this season, and really one of those is on the Thursday night package, which every team is basically required to show up on that. So I'm not even sure if I can just truly count that. Now, what could happen if Denver shocks the NFL world and they turn out to be a playoff contender, then of course they'll get more primetime shine. Now, for me, when I look at the Broncos schedule, I see a 9-7, 10-6, or maybe even 11-5 season for the Broncos. Now, I know to a lot of people out there that's going to sound crazy and almost even blasphemous, but just hear me out. The Broncos kick off the 2019 season as the second game in the Monday night doubleheader that night. Now, as exciting as the schedule release is, and as much as we like to try and predict teams' records, basically here in April, the truth is none of us know what the season is going to look like, obviously. Now, because here's the thing. Teams, they change throughout the course of the offseason before the regular season even gets here. They trade guys, they cut guys, guys get injured, guys get put on injured reserve during training camp. With all that, teams can and they do look different from this point in April all the way to September when the season starts. Now, the first Monday night game to kick the season off on that slate on ESPN is Deshaun Watson and the Texans heading to New Orleans to take on Drew Brees and the Saints in that first contest. Then after that, the Broncos, they face off against the Raiders in Oakland. Now, personally, I think Denver takes this Oaktown game, but these next 2 games on Denver's schedule are going to be toss-ups. The second one in week 2 is the Chicago Bears coming to Denver for Denver's home opener. Now, this game's going to be interesting. We got head coach Vic Fangio. Of course, he used to be the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. He's facing his former team where he took their defense from average to below average all the way to number 1 in just a few years. The Bears, their offense is still good. Matt Nagy, he's going to be in year 2 with Mitch Trubisky over in that system. So their offense should continue to build on what they were able to do last season. Now, the defense might take a step back because that they did suffer a few personnel changes. And, of course, Vic Fangio and Ed Donatel, they're gone. But I think the Chicago defense will still be pretty good. Now, in this game, it's going to be a close one, but I think Denver takes the W. And in week 3, we'll move on to week 3. Week 3, Denver travels to Green Bay, which is basically a place that the Broncos have never really won. I honestly can't even remember the last time the Denver Broncos won a game in Lambeau Field. Green Bay, I'm probably going to say Green Bay just might be an L for Denver because Aaron Rodgers and that Packers offense, I don't know if Denver's going to have the offense to be able to keep up with them. If Denver's defense turns out to be as good as I think it's going to be, they're definitely going to have a shot, because that's basically going to be about the only way that Denver's going to be able to beat the Packers in Green Bay. In order for Denver to do that, they're going to basically have to play Green Bay the same way they played them in 2015, the last time these two teams met. And in that 2015 meeting, I mean, the Broncos, they hammered Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they harassed him. They were constantly in the backfield. They had him scrambling for his life. They hit him. They sacked him. I mean, they beat Aaron Rodgers up in that game. And really, that's the way you have to play Aaron Rodgers. If you're going to beat Aaron Rodgers, you have to hit him. You have to stay in his face. You have to tick him off, basically. You have to harass him. And that's really going to be Denver's only chance in this game, because, I mean, head-to-head, offense-wise, I'm not sure if Denver's going to have the weapons to go head-to-head with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers against Joe Flacco. I mean, I'm not trash-talking Joe Flacco. He is the quarterback of my team. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers against Joe Flacco. You really don't want that shootout. So with that one, I think Denver's going to take the L in that one. In week 4, the Broncos, they take on the Jaguars in Denver. Now, this game right here is a hard pick for me, because the Jags, they were basically trash for most of the Blake Bortles era. I hate saying that about dudes, because I don't really like to get on here and, just knock guys. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the Blake Bortles era in Jacksonville was basically bad outside of that one good year in 2017. Now the Jags have Nick Foles as their quarterback, and even though he had that magical run in 2017 with the Eagles, his history says that eventually he's going to come back to earth. Now, with this one right here, I can see Denver winning this game. So that's the first 4 games of the season. So with those 4 games right there, Denver could be on a nice roll, either 3-1 or 4-0 if it all works out right. Either one, I'll take. I'm not tripping on either one. I'll take 3-1, definitely, especially the way the Broncos have looked the last few seasons. Week 5 is another division rival game against the Los Angeles Chargers. This game's going to be over in L.A. Now, Denver stole that game last season in Los Angeles from the Chargers, and they shocked everybody, including myself and most other Broncos fans, because I did not expect Denver to win that game at all. Now, these games between these two squads basically are always a toss-up, so I can see this game going either way. What I'm going to do with this series, though, I think this series is going to be not a sweep. Personally, I think this series is going to be a split between the Chargers and the Broncos. So with this game being in L.A., I'm going to say the Chargers take this game and the Broncos take the L. Week 6 is the Titans in Denver. Now, there's nothing flashy or sexy about this game that really jumps out at me, although, I do have a special place in my heart for the Titans, because the first time I saw the Broncos in person, they played the Tennessee Titans back when Vince Young was the man over in Nashville. So it's always pretty cool for me from a personal standpoint whenever these two teams play each other. That game back then was 2007 on Monday Night Football. I'll never forget it. And I got to watch it with my dad, so that was awesome. But outside of that, I think Denver takes the W here. Week 7 is another divisional rival game. It's the first of 2 contests against those demonic Kansas City Chiefs. Now, this one right here is in Denver. Now, Denver hasn't beat this squad since week 2 of the 2015 season on Thursday Night Football, and that game had one of the craziest endings I have ever seen. That's the one where Kansas City, they were driving down the field at the end of the game. I mean, I think it was like less than a minute to go in the game. Kansas City was driving down the field to have a chance to either tie the game or win the game, and Alex Smith, he hands the ball off to Jamal Charles. Brandon Marshall comes in. He knocks the ball out of Jamal Charles' hands. Of course, Jamal Charles fumbled the ball. Bradley Roby picked it up. He scooped and he scored, and Denver went on to get the W. Now, as far as this game in 2019, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that Denver splits this series with the Kansas City Chiefs, and with this game being in Denver, I'm going to say Denver gets the W in this one. And, yes, I know some of you are probably looking at me crazy right now when I say that. I know all about Kansas City's offensive weapons and Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and blah, 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 blah. But the Chiefs, they suffered a lot of defensive losses personnel-wise on their defense. So I think they take a step back there. Their defense already really wasn't that great, and I'm not trash talking. It's just it is what it is. But they do have possibly the best offense in the league. But the one thing about NFL, those high-octane, high-powered offenses in the NFL, if you hit them and punch them in the mouth with a stout defense, you got a chance. And I think the Denver Broncos defense is going to be nice. real nice this year. So I'm giving Denver a chance in that one. I'm going to say Denver takes the dub in that game. Week 8 will be a good one if both squads are healthy at this point in the season, because the Broncos travel over to Indianapolis to play Andrew Luck and the Colts. Now, Indy is one of those teams that they tend to be a thorn in the Broncos' side, especially when they're at home. And Indianapolis, man, I don't know what it is about this stadium. Even in the old stadium, that seems to be one of Denver's house of horrors almost, because that's another stadium where I honestly cannot remember the last time the Broncos won a game in Indianapolis. I think it may have been, it may have been like in 2003 or 2004. And I think that was a game where Peyton Manning wasn't even playing. I think they benched him basically because the Colts, they were already in the playoffs, so they were resting their starters. I mean, I really think that's the last time the Broncos won a game in Indianapolis. That's the first time. That's the first one I can remember. And even when Peyton Manning came over to the Broncos and they would go back to Indianapolis, no matter how well the Broncos were playing at that point in the season, it seems like the Colts, they just always showed up to play the Broncos hard when he would come back. So, yeah. You know what? The last time these two squads met was in Denver, and that game had a crazy ending as well, because that's when Von Miller, he had that strip sack on Andrew Luck, knocked the ball free, and then Shane Ray, he came through with the scoop and score, sealed the W for Denver. So, with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and say that Denver takes an L in Indianapolis in Week 8. Week 9 is the Cleveland Browns in Denver. Now, the Broncos lost the game last season between these two squads in one of the most frustrating ways that I've ever seen a team lose a game. They basically lost it earlier in the fourth quarter when Denver had a chance to kick a field goal and take the lead. And, of course, Vance Joseph, he, for whatever reason, tried to be uber aggressive, and he chose to go for it. And, of course, Phillip Lindsay didn't get it. And, you know, the rest is NFL history, because the Broncos, they went on to lose that game. That was one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen, because with that loss, with Denver taking that L, it knocked them out of playoff contention last season. So, yeah, there's a little sour spot when it comes to the Browns and the Broncos here recently for me. But anyway, with this particular game, the Browns, they got a lot of weapons on offense. You know, they got Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., Kareem Hunt when he comes back from his suspension. They got David Njoku. They got Jarvis Landry. Like, the Browns, they got a nice, real nice offense, man. I love what the Browns are doing over there in Cleveland. But even though I love what the Browns are doing over there in Cleveland, they're going to take the L in this one. So I'm saying Denver gets this dub, and then they move on to Week 10, which is the bye week. And I love late bye weeks for the Broncos, because it seems like historically the Broncos, they don't do well when they have a bye week early in the season. So with this being a late bye week, I'm loving that for the Denver Broncos. Week 11, the Broncos, they go ahead and they head over to Minnesota. Now, the interesting thing with this game, if you would have told me last season, especially around this time last year, that the Broncos would have to play the Vikings in Minnesota, I would go ahead and put that as an automatic L for Denver, because, you know, when you think about the Vikings, you know, they got Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen. They got that rough and tough defense. They're not quite the purple people eaters from back in the day, but they got a tough defense up there in Minnesota. And besides, the Vikings are going to be at home. I mean, that's a lot of firepower for a squad that's trying to find their way like the Broncos are to go up against. But after what I saw from the Vikings last season down the stretch, I could honestly see Denver stealing a W from Minnesota in their own house. So this game right here could really kind of go either way for me. Week 12, the Broncos, they travel over to Buffalo, which seems to be another house of horrors for them. This is another place where I honestly can't remember the last time the Broncos won a game there. And this is one of those things where no matter who's playing on the Broncos, no matter who's playing on the Buffalo Bills, for whatever reason, it seems like Buffalo is a tough place to get a dub for the Broncos. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and mark that down as an L for Denver, because I don't have a lot of faith in Denver pulling out a W in Buffalo, New York. Let's see, Week 13, this is the second game against the Chargers. This time, this one's going to be in Denver. Now, I said earlier these two teams will split this series, and I'm sticking to that. So with this one being in Denver, I say Denver takes the dub in this one. Week 14, I'm actually looking forward to this game, because the Broncos, they come on down here to Texas, to the Lone Star State, Texas, God's country. Well, they're going to come on down here to Houston to play the Texans in Houston. I might actually have to go to this game, man, because Houston and Dallas, they ain't nothing but up the street from each other. So this one I'm looking forward to. Now, for whatever reason, when it comes to between these two squads, for whatever reason, more often than not, it's a pretty close game between these two teams anytime they play. This is another opponent from last season where when the Broncos and the Texans met up in Denver, that one was a frustrating game because that game was coached and called horribly by the Broncos coaching staff, and Houston ended up getting the dub. But with this one, I think Denver's going to get the payback, and they're going to take this W. So, yeah, I might have to make my way down to Houston for this one. Week 15, the Broncos, they go to Kansas City. And like I said earlier, I think they split this series. This one, with it being in Kansas City, Denver very rarely wins there the last few years. So I'm going to say Denver takes the L in this one. Week 16 is the Lions in Denver. There's nothing sexy or flashy about this game at all. Denver gets the W. Week 17, the last week of the regular season, is the Oakland Raiders playing the Broncos in Denver. And I think Denver sweeps the Raiders in this series. So, you know, as you've heard, this schedule is not an easy schedule for the Broncos at all, especially that last stretch in there where it's like where they have they got a 5-game stretch toward the end of the season where 4 out of those 5 games are on the road. So this is not an easy schedule for the Broncos at all. But, you know, after all the eggs that Denver has laid the last few years, 9-7 or 10-6 sounds real good to me. Let's switch gears and go to I'm in and I'm out. The Houston Rockets. Man, I'm loving what I'm seeing from the Houston Rockets as a basketball team right now. After that 104-101 win against the Utah Jazz on Saturday night, the Rockets showed that they can win with flash and pizzazz style, you know, hitting threes from Sugar Land to Pearland to West Houston. Or they can get down with you to the nitty-gritty, and they can gut out a tough win when they can't even buy a shot. So with all that, man, I'm 100% in on the Houston Rockets. Now, here's the thing. I'm not married to any NBA team. I'm not a hardcore Rockets fan. I don't have a hardcore devotion to any NBA team. I just enjoy the game of basketball. But I'm a Texas boy through and through, and the Houston Rockets are the biggest threat to Golden State. And to be quite honest with you, I'm ready for somebody to beat the Golden State Warriors as NBA champions because I'm just ready for a fresh champion. Everybody keeps talking about Kevin Durant leaving the Golden State Warriors, and honestly, I'm really kind of ready for him to go because, you know, I'm just really tired of Golden State dominating the NBA. Like, it's not even fun. There's no suspense factor because everybody already knows who's more than likely going to win the NBA Finals. Don't at me. Now, as for the Rockets, they have just what they need to do to dethrone the Golden State Warriors. The Rockets can beat you from the perimeter, they can beat you in the paint, and as they showed on Saturday night, they can win close games and hold it together when nothing is going right. Case in point, James Harden, the Rockets' undefiled leader, he went over 15 Saturday night before he hit a single shot. He didn't score any points in that game until the fourth quarter. Now, usually the Rockets go as James Harden goes. So when he's on a cold streak, generally the Rockets lose. When he's on a hot streak, you basically don't even have to worry about it. They're going to take that W. But Saturday night, man, they showed that they can win ugly despite their leader going through a rough patch. Now, they have other dudes also who can and they will hold it down when somebody's going through a cold snap. And you need that kind of mindset. You need that kind of execution to win a championship. Now, the biggest keys for Houston beating Golden State is James Harden defeating his playoff demons and if Chris Paul can stay healthy. Those are the two biggest things because those two dudes are Houston's Batman and Robin. They have to have these dudes playing at a high level to even have a shot at beating the Golden State Warriors. Now, if these two things happen, the Houston Davids have a great chance at beating the Golden State Goliaths. Now, last season in the playoffs, Houston had Golden State on life support. If you remember, they had them down 3-2, and it looked like Golden State was really about to get sent home packing with a black eye. And then, just like out of a script from a Hollywood movie, CP3's hamstring decides to go on that bull jive, and all of a sudden, CP3 couldn't go. And it's not his fault. I'm not blaming him at all. I mean, injuries happen. It was just that one happened at the absolute worst time for the Houston Rockets. And, of course, with that, the Golden State Warriors, they catch a break. They end up taking the series. And, of course, the rest is NBA history. Now, the question for the Rockets moving forward. The questions are going to be, can James Harden stay with the red-hot MVP caliber seasons he's been putting together? Despite going 3 for 20 and shooting last Saturday, can he shake that off and get back to his form? Can CP3, can he stay healthy enough to keep Houston at full strength? Can Daniel House Jr. stay the course on his storybook season? Can PJ Tucker, can he keep his shot streak going? As of the time that this podcast has been recorded, he's 9 for 20 from 3 so far in this series. He's 44% in field goal shooting, and he's averaging 13.5 points. Can he keep that up? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. No, seriously though. I'm excited about this Rocket squad. I'm excited about what they're doing going into this next round of the playoffs. And listen, I get it. I truly get it. It is unlikely that they or any other squad can beat Golden State in 4 games out of 7. I'm just saying. But what I am saying, the Houston Rockets are the biggest threat to do so. And I hope to the basketball gods that they pull this off. What's the wave with Chef Rodaddy? Now, this is the part of the podcast where I cook up something for you, man. Normally in this podcast, I talk about, recipes that helps you on your wellness journey. I talk about wellness, physical wellness, emotional wellness, mental wellness, spiritual wellness sometimes. And today in this particular part of the podcast, I'm going to talk about, if you're on this weight loss journey or this fat loss journey or maybe even a muscle gain journey, what do you do when all of a sudden you're progressing, things look real good for you, you're chugging along like a train skating down the tracks, and then all of a sudden, despite you doing the right things, your progress, it seems like it either slows down or it just comes to a complete stop. And as frustrating as that can be, things like that happen on this journey. So what do you do when that happens? What do you do when you're on this journey and you've been working out and you're eating right, but you're not seeing the results? Maybe you've come to a point where you're not losing any weight or you're not losing as fast as you were, and as a result, you're not losing as fast as you think you should. What do you do when you're doing all the right things and nothing is happening? Well, I'm going to tell you exactly what you do. You stay the course. You stay consistent, you stay patient, and you persevere. Maybe it's an issue where you need to track your diet a little bit closer. Try counting your calories, keep a food journal, track your macronutrients. When you start getting stagnant or slowing down, that's a sign that generally you might need to switch it up. So, I'm saying stay the course, keep doing what you're doing, but just find a different routine. Find a different way to get those results. Find a different way to kickstart your body into gear. Change your workout up. If you're doing a lot of cardio, either switch up the kind of cardio that you're doing or cut back a day or two of it and substitute it for another high-intensity workout. Maybe you like to bang the weights, but you're not seeing your muscles grow and tone like you think they should. Try adding more weight to your lifts because muscles grow from being under stress. They grow from being under tension. And you got to get that blood flowing to the muscle in order for the muscle to really grow and in order for that muscle to really tone up. That blood's got to hit it. So for instance, if you normally go 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps, try switching it up to 5 sets of 25 reps, 20 reps, 15 reps, 12 reps, and 8 reps, and then just increase weight in between each set, or try something similar. Now, when it comes to cardio and weights, there's a million different ways that you can switch it up. I mean, I don't even have time to list even a fraction of them. And then if you're running stale on workouts, if you're running stale on ideas, get on Instagram, get on YouTube. Instagram and YouTube are my best friends when it comes to stale and workout. Because, there's so many trainers on Instagram and on YouTube and the content is free. There's full-fledged workouts on Instagram and YouTube. There's full-fledged diet plans on Instagram and YouTube. And, that's what I do. I follow a lot of trainers on Instagram. I look up a lot of stuff on YouTube, and I just steal information from them. Wherever you see somebody doing something, you see somebody being the best at something, steal from what they're doing and don't be ashamed whatsoever. And then me too. There are times where when I've been following like a trainer or something on Instagram for a while and they put something up, I may even I may comment on their post. I may even shoot them a DM and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm currently at in my journey, and I see you doing this on this video. What muscle groups does this target? What's a good way to switch this up? 9 times out of 10, they're really good about sharing information. Now, you got a few of them that they may ignore you. I've never had them ignore me. I've always had them answer, and they've always been real gracious. But I'm just saying, you may hit one up. They may not say anything to you, or they may want to charge you. If they're going down that route, just leave it alone. But never be afraid to reach out to people who you see having success and where you're trying to go, never be afraid to reach out to them and ask them for help or advice. I can't stress that enough. Now, when it comes down to nutrition, it might even come down to you measuring your portions out, because in this journey, portion control is everything when you're trying to lose fat. Shrink your portions. You might even try weighing your food. Keep a food diary. Once you start writing down stuff, you would be surprised at how much or how little you eat depending on your goals. Because here's the thing with the human body, man, you have to throw curveballs at your body from time to time, because the human body is extremely adaptive. It's extremely resilient, and it can adjust to basically almost anything. And that's cool for when you need it to do that. But it can be extremely frustrating on this journey when you're trying to smash these goals and your body's not responding because it's bored, because it's already used to what you're doing. That can be extremely, extremely frustrating. But whatever you do, do not quit, period. You fight through it and you push through it. You have to persevere through this, because nobody said it would be easy. Nobody said you would always like it. Nobody said that you wouldn't hurt. Nobody said you would never get frustrated. They just said that it would be worth it. And trust me, as somebody that's going on this journey, when you push through those frustrations, when you push through those walls, it is extremely, extremely rewarding. When you look in the mirror and you see your body changing the way I've seen my body changed, man, it is a feeling that I cannot even describe. Right now I'm basically at the size that I was back in school when I was playing football. And man, I can't even put into words how great I feel. Outside of telling you just I feel great. Outside of saying that, I can't tell you how rewarding it is to know that, hey, I set out to do this and I'm on my way to doing it. Now, I'm not quite at my goal, but I'm so close to it that I can taste it, man. It is a great taste. It's almost like, man, if I could put how good it tastes, how good of a taste it leaves in your mouth, to know that you're smashing these goals along the way. Maybe some pizza topped off with some ice cream. However you want to label it. It tastes really, really good to my mentality. It tastes really, really good to my vision. I can't put it into words. Just push through, man. Seriously, just push through. I know it sounds silly what I just said, but push through. It's not going to be easy, and it's not easy. I'm on this journey. It's not going to be easy. It's not easy, but it is worth the fight that it takes to achieve it. Also, drink your water. Drink plenty of water, because water helps you stay full throughout the day, and which also in turn helps you eat less, and it flushes out a lot of impurities and a lot of trash that your body might otherwise hold on to. So, of course, your water is I can't even stress the importance of keeping your system flush. Drink your water. And it also helps your skin look really, really nice and smooth. And fellas, when it comes down, I know a lot of men that go to the gym and, they're working out for the ladies and everything else. Hey, that's all cool. But when it comes down to your skin and water, drink your water, because it makes your skin be a lot smoother. And when it comes down to smooth skin, man, look here. Smooth skin make the ladies want to sin. Yeah. Anyway, let me keep on moving. On this journey, we have to remember that this is trial and error. Some things are going to work for you. Some things won't. And that's okay. That's part of life. You have to find out what works for you. And when you find that out, smash it. And whatever you do, do not compare your journey to somebody else's. That is the quickest way to discourage yourself, and that is the quickest way to talk yourself into quitting. You do not do that, because here's the thing. Everybody's body is different, and everybody's body is going to react differently to different things. Comparison is the thief of joy, period. Run your race. That's all you can do. Run your race. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Be patient, be consistent, be disciplined, be determined. And I'm going to tell you, man, along this journey, you're gonna encounter pain. There are going to be times where your body hurts. But when it comes to pain, you have to deal with it accordingly, because pain is a part of life. You're going to encounter pain in some shape, form, or fashion in life. And if you've never experienced pain, like my Uncle David says, just keep living, because pain is a part of life no matter who you are. And when it comes down to major life growth or major life change, you will have to deal with pain, because here's the thing. If you want change, you must choose your pain, period. You can either deal with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. If you want to change your health, if you want to change the way you look, if you want to change the way you feel, then you have to choose the pain of discipline. And with that, you do what you need to do and make the change happen. And that includes pushing through the rough points. That includes working out when you don't feel like working out. That includes when you really want that pizza or you really want that Whataburger, instead eating your chicken and your vegetables. That includes when you really want that bowl of ice cream or you really want that cake or something like that, that sweet treat, instead of eating that. That includes eating some pineapple, some grapes, some oranges, something like that. Fruit is a great tool to fight a sweet tooth. It includes drinking your water when you'd rather have fruit juice or you'd rather have soda. It includes going to the gym when you'd rather be kicking it with your boys. It includes getting a salad when you go out somewhere or getting some lean protein like some chicken and some vegetables instead of getting chicken wings and mozzarella sticks. Man, chicken wings and mozzarella sticks. I've been wanting chicken wings and mozzarella sticks for a long time right now, man. So let me stop talking about it. So anyway, let me get back on track. If you don't want to change, though, now, when it comes to change, now you have a choice. You can either change or you can choose to stay the same. And if you choose to stay the same, if you don't want to change, then you've chosen the pain of regret by default. Because here's the thing, later on in life, what you don't want to be the person who later on in life you look back and you wish you could turn back the hands of time because you didn't do the things that you could have done right now. So why wait? Why keep putting it off? Why keep making excuses not to make changes? And these changes don't even have to have anything to do with your health. It could be with your finances. It could be with your dating choices. It could be in a current relationship. I mean, it could be a number of things across life where you have to decide that you're going to change. Because at the end of the day, you can pray and you can talk to God. You can holler at God, this and that and the other. But prayer without works is dead. So if you don't do what so God is always going to hold up his end of the bargain. You don't have to worry about that at all. If God said he's going to do it, he's going to do it. It's up to you to do your part, and then God comes in conjunction with you. Because at the end of the day, God is not going to do it all. He can do it all, but he's not going to do it all. And God gives us the freedom to choose. So we have to choose when it comes down to these life changes, when it comes down to growth. We have to choose whether or not we're going to change and as a result grow, or if we're going to stay the same and just stay stagnant. The choice is yours. But remember, when those pains start hitting, remember, you choose either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And since I just mentioned God, keep God first in whatever you do. Keep God first in whatever it is. Because here's the thing, when you keep God first in whatever you do, the battle is already won. You just got to keep fighting until you secure the victory. But keep God first in whatever you do and do not give up. All right, and for the last segment, this is some bull jive. According to reports, NBA ratings are down a whopping 26% this season, and a large part of this has to do with LeBron James, my guy, LeBron James not being in the playoffs. Now, we've been knowing that. That's nothing new, and I'm not shocked at all. But another aspect of NBA ratings taking a nosedive is, well, everybody already basically knows that it's a really good chance that Golden State is going to win it all. So the suspense factor is almost non-existent. Now, I told y'all earlier I was ready for a fresh champion, and I stick by that because, I mean, hey, look, I'm one of those people where if you don't want somebody to win, you got to beat them. And I still stick to that even with these Golden State Warriors. All I'm saying is it's just old and stale. I mean, the Golden State Warriors winning another championship, it's just like stale bread, bruh. I mean, I'm ready for some fresh meat to hold up that NBA Finals trophy. But see, here's another thing that gets me with Golden State is, you know, as talented as these dudes are, as skilled as these dudes are, they're a front-running team. They front-run and they hot dog when things are going well. You just like the other night, Steph Curry, when they took that L against the Clippers. But earlier in the game, he was hitting those threes. He was running up and down the court. I'm a bad man. Then the Clippers, punched them in the mouth, and they ended up taking the dub. Now, that was the one game that the Clippers stole from the Warriors. My whole deal with the Warriors is, when you talk that trash, when you're ahead and everything else, you're talking that trash, you better keep that same energy when things aren't going your way. You see how they went crying to Kevin Durant whenever Bron put his foot off in him back in 2016. Now, they had LeBron and the Cavaliers down 3-1. All they had to do was win one more game, and LeBron said, LeBron James showed why the king is still the king, and the Warriors couldn't handle it. Then they went and got Kevin Durant. And this is another thing, man. After LeBron mollywopped them and then they go and they get Kevin Durant, now all of a sudden everybody's acting like this is just your regular NBA squad. I mean, this is an NBA squad that we've basically never seen before. I mean, the second best player on the team, Steph Curry, is a unanimous NBA MVP, and he's basically one of the best shooters, if not the best three-point shooter that we've ever seen in NBA history. Then you still got Klay Thomas right behind him. Then you still got Draymond Green right behind him. I mean, we've never seen an NBA team this stacked before. So that's why when folks try to say, well, you know, when LeBron took that L against them last season, this was a mark against his legacy and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, no, it's not, because nobody has ever faced a team like that. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just nobody's ever faced it. Now, as far as LeBron goes, man, I honestly feel bad for my guy LeBron, because that Lakers front office is in shambles. That Lakers front office is a mess. I mean, the Lakers are in some true bull jive right now, and only God knows how they're going to get out of it, because I don't even think the Lakers know how they're going to get out of this situation right now. I mean, Magic Johnson, he walked away from it, and now they're talking about Rob Pelinka is going to be the guy in charge. He has a terrible reputation around the NBA, and one thing about business, relationships and things like that, if people feel like they can't trust you or they feel like you're a bad person, good luck digging out of whatever hole that you're in, because nobody's going to want to help you. And I don't see that happening with the Lakers. So with LeBron, man, I don't even think LeBron would have went to L.A. if he would have knew all of this was going to happen. I mean, I truly feel bad for LeBron James with what's going on over there in Los Angeles right now. But anyway, back to it. I'm ready for a fresh NBA champion. Yes. I mean, this report right here shows exactly why the NBA needs LeBron James. And since he's in L.A. with the Lakers, they need this to work out, period. LeBron James not in the playoffs for the first time in over a decade, and Golden State likely winning a third consecutive championship? This is some bull jive. Well, that's my time for episode 49 of the Undrafted podcast. I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for blessing me with the gifts, the talents, and the resources to do this podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come and hang out with me on this podcast. Remember, you can catch the Undrafted podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Podcast, as well as iHeartRadio now. If you want to follow the Undrafted Podcast on social media, on Instagram, it's the Undrafted Podcast. On Twitter, it's Row for Show Pro. I don't have a Bible verse for you this week, but I do want to encourage you to read James chapter 3, where it talks about faith removing discrimination. And always remember, man, when it comes down to faith and prayer, faith without works is dead. So you can believe in something to happen all day and all night, but unless you put the work into it, unless you're willing to put the work in behind it, faith without works is basically just a dream. So remember, if you're going to believe in something, if you're going to have faith for something, if you're going to ask for something, be willing to put that work in. And remember, do your best and let God handle the rest. Be blessed.